upgrade they had on there. All right. So Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1. Now, if I was to do a quiz tonight and I put up 5 numbers on the board, how many of you feel confident without looking you would know which sacrifice went with which chapter? It's tough, ain't it? Anybody? All right, so we need to go over them again, right? All right, now what's chapter 1 is the burnt offering. Number 2, grain offering, isn't it? Take a look. Peace is 3. Sin is 4. Trespass is 5. All right, so I think that's right. Double check now. All right.
Me, peace, sin, trespass. That's right.
All right, so we got the burnt offering, grain offering, peace offering, and for some reason, peace in 3 was always easy for me. That's like the being beautiful 3.
Peace in 3, yeah.
There's certain ways you remember those things.
Hey,
but
it's got 3 little.
Good point. Anyway, the peace is 3. Maybe that's why I remember it like that.
Okay.
For those of us from the 70s, remember the peace sign. But turning your Bible to the book of Leviticus chapter 5, and we're going to finish the trespass offering, and they'll talk about the guilt offering and all, but it's a trespass offering. Huh? It is. It's a trespass offering. But some people try to break it down. But I want you to see chapter 1, burnt offering, grain, peace, sin offering, trespass offering. 6 and 7. Let me write it like this. I want to write them up here so to show you this. When you're in the book of Leviticus, chapters 1 through 5, you're going to go through each of those offerings, right? Burnt, grain, which is the meat offering, peace, sin, and the trespass. In chapters 6 and 7,
details of the offering.
That's right. All you're going to do is look back on these and get the details. It's just go in depth, right? That's all it's going to do. In chapter 8, we'll start preparing the priests and getting them right. In chapter 9, we'll get the first action of the priest in the first offering. And that's the way you go through the first 9 chapters of the book of Leviticus. Now you've got them and you'll know what to go through. 6 and 7 will give us more details on these. I won't spend a lot of time. You can study at your leisure. Just remember, every offering points to some aspect of Christ, okay? All right. So let's start tonight in chapter 5, if you would, beginning at verse 1. And the soul if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing and is a witness, say whether he hath seen or known of it, and he do not utter, then he shall bear his iniquity. Now, in here, the soul that sins, he says he is if you underline, put out witness, is a witness. In other words, you saw a trespass. You saw a sin committed, but you don't open your mouth and you don't say anything. That's a sin. What happens if you know something, you see it, and you say absolutely nothing about it? Then you are held accountable. That's the point that he's making here. What happens, because, by the way, this is a responsibility. A lot of people like to say, well, I don't want to get involved. God says you have to be involved. If you do this, and you see this, and you hear that, and you say nothing about it, you're going to bear your own guilt. Or the second example, or if a soul touch any unclean thing, which it be a carcass of an unclean beast, or a carcass of an unclean cattle, or a carcass of an unclean creeping things, and if it be hidden from him, he shall be unclean, and underline that word, guilty. So in verse 1, bear his iniquity. Number 2, he'll be guilty. Number 3, another example. Or if he touched the uncleanness of man, whatsoever uncleanness it be, that a man shall be defiled withal, and it be hid from him. When he knoweth of it, he shall be guilty. You underline the word guilty. In other words, if you become unclean in any manner, when you realize it, you are guilty. You know better. Once you know it, you need to do something about it. In other words, you got to raise your hand. Anybody ever watched the movie The Legend of Bagger Vance? Anybody watch that movie? It's one of the famous sports movies of our times.
Will Smith.
Yeah, and it's a great storyline at the end, because at the end something is said when he says, it moved. He said, and everybody's trying to say, well, maybe you just settle down. The ball didn't move, and Hardy gets upset. He said, you can't call it, because you know it and I know it. He said, yeah, but that's the problem, Hardy. You know it. I know it, and so do you. I know it. I have to say something. He saw the ball move. When he pulled the twig, the ball moved, and he had to call a penalty on himself. Nobody else knows it, but he knew it. And Hardy says, the young boy says, nobody knows it but me and you. He said, but you know it, and so do I.
Amen.
In other words, and it's a wonderful storyline. If you watch movies and you see that, boy, it just grasps your heart, because you realize what the writer is saying about this man. Will Smith has just gotten him to the place where he needs to be. He's no longer making excuses. He's no longer looking at him as a guilty party or anything. He just says, no, I know it, and I have to take responsibility. And he did. And you don't see that often. But to me, when I watch movies, I see those things, and that's what he means here. When you know it, nobody else saw it, but I know it. Maybe it isn't even on me. It's on somebody else. I got to say something, right? You know this happened. You got to raise your hand. I'm sorry, you don't know this, but I got to do this. I work at the gas station, and they got this thing in there that it charges 2 to 3 cents extra on everybody's pump. That happens. You can do certain things, right? You've got to tell it. He says, if you know it, when he realizes it, you're going to be guilty. He says, he shall also be unclean. He says, and even if it, when he knoweth of it, he shall be guilty. And finally, number 4, or if a soul swear, pronouncing with his lips to do evil or to do good, whatsoever it be, a man shall pronounce with an oath, and it be hid from him. When he knoweth of it, he shall be guilty in one of these. If you swear an oath and you realize you're guilty, if a person swears an oath, and you know what people say, they'll swear an oath, I'm going to lose weight this year, I'm going to quit smoking this year, I'm going to cut back on my TV time, I'm not going to go coon hunting as much, that kind of thing. And then you don't do it. You swear falsely. These are trespasses, the trespass against God. 5. Let me get to the next one. This is it. And it shall be, when he shall be guilty of one of these things. So verse 1 through verse 4 give you the different types of trespasses, right? and now in verse 5 he says, here's how you do the trespass offering. It shall be, when he shall be guilty of one of these things, that he shall confess that he had sinned in that thing. And he shall bring his, and underline it there, trespass offering unto the Lord for his sin, which he hath sinned. A female from a flock, a lamb, or a kid of a goat for a sin offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his sin. Now, what if he can't bring it? And all these offerings are like this. And if he be not able, verse 6, to bring a lamb, he shall bring his trespass that he hath committed, underline this, 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons unto the Lord, one for the sin offering and the other for the burnt offering. Remember, the trespass offering is almost like a combination of putting the sin offering and the burnt offering together. You've trespassed against God. And that's what, when I read the commentaries I was using, it brought those out. But the point he's saying is, if you can't bring this, you got to bring this. Well, we got the 2 turtle doves. Number 8, he says, and he shall bring them unto the priest, who shall offer that which is for the sin offering first, and wring off his head and his neck, he shall not divide it asunder. He shall sprinkle of the blood of the sin offering upon the side of the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be wrung out at the bottom of the altar. It is a sin offering. Now, and he shall offer the second for a burnt offering according to the manner, and the priest shall make such an atonement for him for the sin which he had sinned, and he shall be, and underline this, forgiven him. Now, what happens if you can't bring the 2 turtle doves? But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he that sinned shall bring for his offering a 10th part of an ephah, and underline this, fine flour for a sin offering. He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense thereon, for it is a sin offering. The biggest gist you get out of this is, you saw the examples of the trespass. The offering, you've got to bring it. And if you don't have enough money, you still got to bring something. Even if it's just grain, you have to bring something. So never tell people you can't afford to pay tithes. You've got to bring something. You have to bring to the Lord. You say, well, I can't afford to. And I think back of when my forefathers, your people born during the Depression, and they would have to pay tithes. They had a whole lot less to bring than what you brought.
Amen.
And I can assure you, their light bill wasn't $250 a month. And they probably said, well, Brother Harris, it was cheaper back then. Kilowatts was the same. Think about how much they used. They didn't have an air conditioner. Most of them had a fan. You know what kind of fan they had?
That was really.
Do you remember how they would sit and over the baby at night when the baby would go to sleep? Mamas would sit there all day like this, fanning the child while the child slept. Maybe y'all don't remember that. A mama would just sit there and do this. Really? Yeah, that's what mamas did. Take a baby and keep the baby cool. Guess what? And we think we can't bring any tithes because we don't have enough money. And we got cell phones, we got so much. But God says you're going to bring at least the flour. Any comments? You're going to have to bring something. The fine for sin offering, okay, verse 12. Then he shall bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his handful of it, even a memorial thereof, and burn it on the altar, according to the offerings made by fire unto the Lord. It is a sin offering. Remember, the trespass offering is a combination of sin and the burnt offering together, but he lists it as a trespass against the Lord. And the priest shall make an atonement for him as touching his sin. They had sinned in one of these things, and it shall be forgiven him. And the remnant shall be the priest as a meat offering. In other words, the rest of it, that's what the priest belongs to him. He can make it, and that's what is bread for himself. Again, chapter 5, trespass offering. You got the 4 examples in verse number 1 through 4. And that's an example. Remember, you can kind of extrapolate from that, much as we did in Exodus chapters 21, 22, and 23. Remember? Those are the 3 chapters with all those laws, and we would say there were examples of it. This is the same way, okay? Now, number 14, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, if a soul commit a trespass and sin through ignorance, okay? Let's say he does it through ignorance, and now this is different, the holy things of the Lord. He shall bring his, underline it there, trespass. He committed a trespass. He's going to bring his trespass on the Lord, a ram without blemish out of the flocks, with thy estimation by shekels of silver after the shekel of the sanctuary, for it is a trespass offering. This is in regard to the holy things of the Lord, things that you're supposed to do for God, things that you knew you were supposed to do for God. I was supposed to go to church Sunday. I was supposed to pay my tithe Sunday. I was supposed to bring so-and-so for this. I had a responsibility to God, and I didn't do this. You're going to have to come in regard to the holy things And that verse number 16, he shall make amends for the harm that it done in the holy thing. Underline that, holy thing. That's a unique thing. It's like, I think the writer here said, a desecration of the tabernacle. You've done something you know you shouldn't do, but it was against God primarily. It's in the holy things of God when you knew you weren't supposed to do that. You did it. You're going to bring it. In verse 16, what they had done, the holy thing, and shall add the fifth part thereto and give it to the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the, underline it, trespass offering, it shall be forgiven him. I want you to underline trespass. That way, every time you look at that chapter, it'll just flash out. That's the trespass chapter. And you'll know which one it is. And if a soul sin, verse 17, and commit any of these things which are forbidden to be done by the commandments of the Lord, though he wist it not, yet is guilty, he shall bear his iniquity. In other words, a sin against the holy things means this. Well, what if he didn't know it? He does. There are things that you absolutely know, you just ignored it. There are things that the Israelite people always knew. Great example. I think it's Nehemiah chapter 4, when the priest said, come into the holy place. And he said, to save your life. And he says, I can't do that. Everybody knows you can't go into the temple if you're not a priest. I know that. You don't do it. Or with what was remember the king? Was it? God, I can't remember his name. He tried to offer the burnt offering and his hand withered, and the man of God prayed for him.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
And the man of God, and don't even say what the prophet's name was, and he prayed and his hand came back. You knew you weren't supposed to do certain things. He wished it not, but it's something that you know you were never to do. I always taught my boys, whatever you do, you don't be with a girl at a house by yourself. You know? It's just a card. And so they knew that. If you did it, you knew better than that. Hey, because Matt would call me up, Daddy, where y'all at? Man, we want to get something to eat. All right, we'll ride around. We'll be back in a little bit. Because he wouldn't come to the house. He's got a key to get in. He knows the alarm. He could get in anytime he wanted, but he knows that was a rule we had. Just like you got certain rules that you have, right? Jeroboam, son of Nebat, it makes sense. But you've got certain things you told, like my daddy said, son, don't go to McCall. No, you don't come home after midnight. Or certain things you've been told. Well, God has certain rules that he put down, and everybody knew those rules. And you just didn't go against it. But if you did, you're going to bear your iniquity. Even though in verse 7 he wished not, yet he is guilty, he shall bear his iniquity. 18, and he shall bring a ram without blemish out of the flock with thy estimation for the, underline it, trespass offering unto the priest. That's why, Sister Bonnie, when I see that over and over, I keep telling it it's a trespass offering. And the priest shall make an atonement. By the way, let me stop and say that word atonement. That means a payment for sin. To atone for something means you've made it right. An atonement for him concerning his ignorance, wherein he erred and wished it not, and he shall be forgiven him. It is a, underline it, trespass offering. He had certainly trespassed against who? The Lord, the holy thing. Even in ignorance, you knew this. In other words, this is the thing that drives home what we're about to go into this on Thursday night. If you study online with me, we're about to dive into it. We've done it before, but it's that first chapter of Romans. When God says, I don't care if you tell me what I didn't know. I think it was the famed, I don't know if he was an atheist, but he didn't believe in God, but his name was Bertrand Russell. And he said, if I get there and find out that there was really a God, I'm going to tell him he didn't give enough evidence that he was there. Romans chapter 1 tells you there's enough evidence for the wrath of God to reveal from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteous men who hold the truth and unrighteousness. The Bible says for the things, it says it's clearly seen. You can't deny it. Brother Horace, a man can look around and say, how do you know there's got to be a God? Evolution says out of chaos, you get order. There's nothing in your life ever comes to order out of chaos. You don't take a glass. If I was to take a cup out of there, one of those cups, those coffee cups, and you see how it's perfectly made with a handle on, and I drop it, it's going to shatter. It goes to chaos, doesn't it? Will those pieces ever come together by chance? Never. Something has to make it. Evolution is designed saying, well, it just, as long as there's enough time, chaos comes to order. It doesn't work that way. You know it, I know it. Then why do they believe it? And you go down the arguments trying to go through the teleological argument, the cosmological argument, and all those different arguments. You don't need to. They know the truth. Use a moral argument, which means they don't want to believe it because then they got to obey God. There are things you know it's a holy thing. You know it's wrong. You did it anyway. You're going to bring an offering. Now, we've just gone through the first 5 chapters of Leviticus. The offerings are burnt, the grain, peace is 3, 4 is sin, 5 is the trespass offering, okay? And I think of, let's see, burnt, grain, peace, sin. Trespass is a long word, and that's 5 golden rings. That's the long, I always remember 5 being long. In my head, I remember it like that. All right.
By grace, Paul speaks truthfully.
Okay.
That's how I remember. The acronym. Had to make an acronym.
Yeah, I can live by some of them, but they don't stick in my head. But that's what I do. The same thing. You know things how you remember. Now, 6 and 7 are just going to give us some details, okay? I won't take too long, but there's one in particular we're going to have to study here in chapter 6 that I do want to make sure that you pick this up because this is in the news right now, and you need to hear this. All right? Now, number 1, and chapter 6, verse 1 of Leviticus. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, if a soul sin, verse 2, if a soul sin and commit a trespass against the Lord and lie unto his neighbor in that which was delivered him to keep, or in fellowship, or in a thing taken away by violence, or hath deceived his neighbor, or have found that which was lost, and lieth concerning it, and swear falsely in any of all these that a man doeth, sinning therein. 2 things to understand here. It's about what if I steal from a neighbor? It's really what it's about. What if I steal from a neighbor? Well, the first thing God says about this is verse number 1, against the Lord. Now we know in the Bible it says, thou shalt not steal. That's in the 10 Commandments. We already read that in Exodus, what chapter?
20.
Exodus chapter 20. You ain't supposed to steal. But I want to bring out something important here. He says, it says, and lie unto his neighbor in that which he has delivered him to keep. I know you gave it to me. Somebody stole it the other night, and you lie about it. Or taken away by violence. You stole from a man, or deceived his neighbor. Hey, man, I see you got so-and-so. You want me to haul it off for you? Yeah, how much got to pay you? Oh, man, I tell you what, I'll haul it off for you for $50. Okay, and he gives you $50, you haul it away. And the first thing you do is take it to the shop because you know this thing is probably worth about $50,000. It's one of them old vintage vehicles, and the man didn't know what he had. And you take it and you sell it, and you make a lot of money off him, and you knew that, but you didn't tell your neighbor. You're cheating, okay? That's cheating. I see those guys that do those things. I said, look, all you got to do is take out what you got in it, split the profit half with him. Very fair. Be good to somebody. But the thing is, you cheating your neighbor. Look at verse 3. Or found that which was lost. In other words, hey, man, I found your sheep. No, I didn't find it. What happened? Boy, I lost my sheep, brother. I don't know what happened to him. You know you got him in your flock, but you ain't going to tell him that he lost it. It's yours now. or he swears false in any of all that a man sins. Something belongs to your neighbor, but you take it somehow. And I want to say this because it's important. But I use that blue anymore. Verse number 4. Then it shall be, because he had sinned and his guilt, that he shall restore that which he took by violently away, or the thing which he hath deceitfully gotten, or that which was delivered to him to keep, or lost thing which he hath found, or all that about which he had sworn falsely. He shall even restore it in the principal, and shall add underline this, a fifth thereto. So underline restore and add a fifth thereto. If you've never heard this, I'm going to tell this to you now. This is what God is writing about. The right to personal property. This is ingrained in the Bible, and it's very important. This is why communism, or what's announced socialism, does not work. In other words, when we own the land as a group, or it's common law that, well, the land belongs to everybody. Only in the church of God should that ever be. You have to have godly people. That's the way God's going to have it. But God always has the right to personal property. Okay? It's yours to give or yours to receive. It belongs to you. The Bible said they had all things common. They voluntarily did that, but it belongs to you. If you want to give land to somebody, it's yours to give. But now when you get socialism, which means the property belongs to everybody, there's always going to be a governing board. In Russia, they began with Marxism, with communism. Anybody know what the governing board is? It's called the Politburo, remember? There's somebody over it, and they control everything. The right to personal property. Brother Andre's got property farms for somebody else, and they let you do it, don't they? It's still their land, isn't it? And they pay you so much, and whatever the profit, you split it with them, but it's their land. You got your own property, though, that belongs to you, right? And you've got a right to that. It belongs to you. And God says when you take from a man, you have to restore it to him. If you haven't gotten this, you should go to the book of Joshua, and you will recognize clearly how important land is. The promise was concerning not only the people, but the land as well. Personal property is important. That's why you do not want socialism where it's not your land anymore. Well, it's all of ours. I saw where the socialist mayor now, where all the grocery stores, well, we're going to control all of them. I'm sorry. How much do you rent your property out for? You got to rent it out for this much. We control your property now. You can't charge rent on it. You got to let them stay on it. Essentially, they've taken over your property and they decide what happens to it. The Bible is filled with this, and it's over and over. It's ingrained in God's people, and you'll know that it belongs to you and it's your responsibility. Now, don't ever believe that's not there. You can't take what belongs to someone else. And this is not just the first place, but this is going to be going on over and over. When you get to the promised land, God's going to say, this is yours, this is yours, this is yours, this is yours. He's going to divide it out, and it belongs to them. In fact, after 7 years, even if you lose it, it's got to go back to them. Land is important to God. Personal property is important. It belongs to you. What's yours is yours, and you're responsible. You don't have the right to what somebody else has. Okay? You can't just go and take it. Now, we do have those laws. Every now and then it comes up in the court system. The federal government has one that's called eminent domain. Sometimes you'll find in certain cities, they'll pass a law where the city has that. And they can go out and the county can take your property. Well, we want to put a road through here. And it's called eminent domain, that they can take your property with a good reason. When Highway 74 went around Maxton, that's what happened. They bought up land. When New 74 came through, they had to pay property rights, right? And sometimes land had been in these people's homes for years and years, and all of a sudden they lost their property. So just recognize you can't take from it, and if you take it, you got to give back a fifth portion. You owe that because you stole from them. And I think it was what time is it? We got enough time? Ephesians 4, I think it says, let him that stole steal no more. But then it says on the opposite hand, in verse, I think it's 28, you need to start giving yourself. Amen. Don't steal. You know why God says thou shalt not steal? Because there's a right to personal property. How can you steal from somebody if they don't own it? They own it. You don't steal. You can't steal from somebody if they don't own something, but it doesn't belong to you, and you're taking it for your own ownership. So recognize them first, those first 7 verses, how important it is about personal property. There's a right that God puts there to property that person has. Any comments on that? That's not brought up much. Again, we talked tonight about talking about the Word of God. Anybody? How many of you ever studied the book of Joshua? Am I telling the truth? Is that not all through Joshua? Have you ever studied about the 7th year, the year of Jubilee? Hey, the land goes back. It's important. How many remember the 5 daughters of Zelophehad? Remember that one? Hey, our father had no boys. He's going to lose his inheritance. Remember that one? That's the land, belongs to that family. Land goes back. And God has always put that there, brothers and sisters. He's always had that. And personal property does belong to you. It might not be much, but it belongs to them. Okay? And God says that. Well, take a man's cloak, give it back to him by midnight, by the end of the day, so he have something to keep him warm at night, even if he's giving collateral. Yes, sir.
That's the thing, preacher. I think a lot of times people look at stuff by value-wise and say, well, this here, like you said, you say sometimes they take home do you use the fax machine word? Some of them say, well, it ain't that big, it ain't that bad. But I mean, taking if it's a paper clip or, regardless, right?
Listen, I don't take a paper clip home. Yeah. I don't take a piece of paper. I mean, listen, I've seen it done for years when I started working for the man in 2010, I've seen people, they'll use the fax machine. They'll do this. I'm sorry, I can't use the fax machine at work. That's wrong because that's not mine. I don't want to use their stuff for personal reasons. I don't make a phone call off of their phone because it's not right. I shouldn't be using their time. You got to respect even small things, because if you do it in little things, it'll creep up on you. You know why? You go 55, you go 60, you go 65, it keeps going up and up. If you start doing it and just stay on what's right, you'll be fine. Property is important. Your child, well, they just stole a piece of candy. I'm seeing mom's boy tear them up. Go back in there. Hand it back to them. But they'll steal a little piece of candy. By the time he's 16, he's stealing something bigger. Right? That's what it's the principle of that, right? Just like they got on me pitching pennies. No, because later on he'll be gambling. All right, let's move on. He's just giving some more detail on these. Number 8. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the law of the burnt offering. It is a burnt offering because of the burning upon the altar, quote, all night. Underline that. It's one thing we haven't introduced yet about this burnt offering, and he's going to tell us in these few verses here. He says, and the priest all night into the morning, and the fire of the altar shall be burning in it, and the priest shall put on his linen garment, and his linen breeches shall he put upon his flesh, and take up the ashes which the fire hath consumed with the burnt offering of the altar, and he shall put them beside the altar. And he shall put off his garments, and shall put on other garments. Sorry, I can't believe I didn't underline that. Other garments. And carry forth the ashes without the camp into a clean place. And the fire upon the altar shall be burning in it. Underline this. it shall not be put out. And the priest shall burn wood on it every morning, and shall lay the burnt offering in order upon it, and he shall burn thereon the fat of the peace offerings.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, so he's putting on his linen garment and then he's taking them off?
And put something else on.
So why did he put them on to begin with?
Because of the part of the offering that he's doing there. That part was important, the other part isn't.
He's asking, like, is he sweeping up? Is that why he had to put them on first?
No.
He's sweeping and then he's gonna.
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, okay.
It's just that one part is important.
So the linen garments, that's the important part.
The linen garments are what they normally would wear, right? In other words, and when I do this other, I put on regular clothes.
Okay.
In other words, that's part of that. Remember the linen breeches in Exodus? When they made those are the ones that were the undergarments. Those are the holy things. But you take them off when you do this other part. Certain things you would wear and some things that were not important.
So the linen ones are the holy ones.
I think that's in Exodus, was it 28 or 29?
So just to take the burnt offering off, you have to put on the linen garments.
Mm-hmm.
Then he would change clothes and took them ashes outside the camp.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find where they made the
And he had to keep the fire going.
when he made the covering,
So he takes
the
them off,
linen
he
breeches.
lays them down beside the altar, then he changes his clothes, and then he takes them out.
Yeah, to go outside the camp.
And so
Yeah, but again, all this has a reason. There's a reason for it. There is a purpose in it, but we're not trying to go through all the details. But you're more than welcome to study it at your leisure. Matt, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say you want to keep that fire going.
Well, you didn't keep it going when you were moving,
Oh,
but you got wood to put on the altar. Plenty of wood. Yeah, you got wood to put on the altar. It says wood, but it says wood there. There's wood there. And there's always going to be a burnt offering, of course.
Well, it says it shall never go out.
Right. Now, of course, they did stop it because they had to move it, remember? They have to move. The point is, once they start the fire, you keep it going. It was important. And of course, that ends in verse 13. The fire shall be ever burning upon the altar. It shall never go out. And of course, it speaks, this is just simply the burnt offering itself. Now, let's move on. The meat offering, a grain offering. And this is the law of the meat offering. The sons of Aaron shall offer it, verse 14, before the Lord, before the altar. And he shall take of it his handful of the flour of the meat offering. That means grain when it says meat in the King James. And of the oil thereof, and all the frankincense which is upon the meat offering, and shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savor, even the memorial of it unto the Lord. And the remainder thereof shall Aaron and his sons eat. Again, that part is theirs. With unleavened bread shall it be eaten. In the holy place, they eat at the temple. In the court of the tabernacle, the congregation, they shall eat it. It shall not be baken with leaven. I have given it unto them for their portion of my offerings made by fire. Underline this. It is most holy, as is the sin offering and as is the trespass offering. Any comments or questions? Finally, all the males among the children of Aaron shall eat of it. It shall be an underlined statute forever in your generations concerning the offerings of the Lord made by fire. Everyone that toucheth them shall be holy. In other words, only they could touch this. Next, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, this is the offering of Aaron and his sons, the offering of Aaron and his sons, which they shall offer unto the Lord. Okay? What the priests are going to give. For it is in the day which he is anointed. On that day, the 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a meat offering perpetual, half of it in the morning, half thereof at night. In a pan it shall be made with oil, and when it is baken, thou shalt bring it in, and the baken pieces of the meat offering shalt thou offer for a sweet savor unto the Lord. And the priest and his of his sons that is anointed in his stead shall offer it. It is a underlined statute forever unto the Lord. it shall be wholly burnt. For every meat offering, the priest shall be wholly burnt, it shall not be eaten. They eat the offering that the other people gave, but they can't eat what they offer.
The whole thing has to be burned.
Yeah, the whole thing.
No further. Yeah.
The priest, what they offer in the grain offering, they can't eat it, but they can eat what the other people offer.
Mm-hmm.
We'll stop there and I'll pick up in verse 24 next week, Brother Cam. 6 and 7 are just giving more details, okay? We're trying to get just a big picture. All right, so we got the burnt offering,
The meat.
grain offering,
Oh,
peace off,
peace, sin, and trespass.
sin offering, trespass offering. All right? And then 6 and 7 are just giving detail. Gotcha. All right, let's stand. We'll have a word of prayer and be dismissed.
And chapter 5 give detail, right?
Well, all of them are